You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, right. All right. What's going on?
How's your week been, everyone?
All right.
It's like they're going to answer me.
I know they are. They don't hear shit.
I can hear them really loud.
All right, everyone. We got a good show coming through, but first let's talk about the weekend. What do we do?
Oh, we did a lot this weekend, and it was great. We celebrated the wedding of two good friends.
Oh, yeah. Who are they?
That is Suzanne and Ski. Big shout out to them.
Shout out to them.
Oh, celebrated a birthday.
We did have a birthday.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Whose?
Keith's. I'm like, my man Keith.
Yeah. My man Keith and Holly. Holly had a really good birthday party that she had thrown for her boyfriend Keith. So that's a friend of ours. And, shout out to them. And the long drive to Litchfield Park. We had to refuel twice to get out there, but it was cool. A really great party. But no, it was a good weekend. It's still going on. So, by the time you guys hear this, it'll be Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Weekend gone. Weekend full ride.
Full ride. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we got another good show for you. The main topic is just dope. But, we got a couple little topics that we want to discuss. Mm-hmm. And, what's the one that we want to talk about, the first little topic?
Well, first topic is we're going to talk about, as far as relationships goes, cyberbullying.
Uh-oh.
And and we're going to talk to you about how that falls into relationships. So, question is when people stand up for themselves, or how do people react when it comes to cyberbullying? Meaning that if it's a friend of yours or a loved one, because now more than ever, you're not being bullied face to face anymore. That just really doesn't exist.
Okay, we're going to save that for the topic.
Oh yeah.
So the next,
I have a lot of passion about this
topic. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is we just saw the movie review for this week is going to be A Birth of a Nation, Nate Parker's new movie about Nat Turner and the insurrection that happened in 1831. I think it was in Virginia. It was a really good movie. But also the main topic is going to be, is there a time or place when boys will be boys, behavior is acceptable? Now, considering what has been happening in the political landscape, it's going to be something that's going to be up for discussion, and we're going to have our guest, Kristen Burkhart, here to discuss that with us. So, make sure you stay tuned to that because it's going to be a really interesting conversation.
I can't wait.
But first, all right, now that you were so passionate about it.
So passionate about this.
I'll let you just take the lead on the cyberbullying. Okay?
Oh, you'll let me? Thank you.
I'll allow you to. I will give you this
Stop
one.
it. Well, with this topic, because again, how it falls into relationships and how it affects then, let's say, yourself or a loved one or a friend or just even somebody you may not even know, but see that maybe on Twitter or Facebook or other social media hits that maybe they've been attacked and wrongly. So when it comes to that, how do you help them? How do you defend them when either that person is maybe not able to attack back or is ready to attack back but yet doesn't have the tools? So when it comes to relationships and any form of a friendship or bullying that occurs, how do you help your friend out? What do you do?
Well, my whole thing with cyberbullying is, some people are going to be punks no matter what. They're going to be punks outside of, but they're going to be punks especially when they are anonymous. And that's what you do. Some are trolls. Some people just want to start shit just because they have shitty-ass lives sitting behind the computer. What did Trump say? The fat 400-pound guy that's hacking in? Mm-hmm. That's the guy who's doing it. He's cyberbullying, starting up a whole bunch of controversy. Now, there are people who allow themselves, though, I think, that allow themselves to be bullied, I almost want to say cyberly. But, and it's like, to what point do you allow that to go on before you start standing up for yourself? Now, do you think that it's something where they don't do it internally regardless? So whether they're offline, they're just a beta, or they're just kind of weaker and they just allow them to be bullied. Is it a mental issue that even when you go online, regardless, the nature of it, they wind up getting bullied the same way? So is it the same on or off? It's like, that's my question. So is somebody who is weak online weak offline as well, or do they stand different?
Well, and I think I like to look at a different perspective too, as who is really strong in that type of online atmosphere as far as expressing and communicating their concerns, their what's important to them. How do you, in this world of society where, say, you're not a millennial, where you grew up immediately around this type of environment, let's say somebody that is, again, older than a millennial, how do you then defend yourself and actually express yourself in a way that is direct, articulate, and not ignorant to defend yourself online?
I mean, you can, but think of it, here's, I guess because I'm also thinking of it in the victim way. Mm-hmm. Because offline, you can see somebody who is strong as hell.
Right.
They protect powerful people. They do this, this, and that. Then all of a sudden, they get shitted on online, and then they hide like turtles. So it's like, is a bully working almost the same angle, where they are little pussies also offline, but online, they are, they're 300 pounds. They look like The Rock. Mm-hmm. They can talk all this shit, but, you get them face to face and they're quiet. So not only that, but I just want to know when someone's going to wind up defending themselves. When will you stand up yourself to a cyberbully in particular? Not just an actual bully in real life, but a cyberbully. Because you think somebody who is bullying online, you can also be whatever you want online. So you can be a bully online, but you can also be someone who stands up for themselves online. So you can also be that 500-pound badass who stands up for themselves. Well, yeah, I'll fuck you up if wait, where do you live? Oh, yeah, I live on the corner of there. Word? You okay? Well, I'm going to show up. And then they don't.
But where do you draw that line? Where do you want to keep that constant communication back and forth with that dumbass on the other part that's trying to bully you, and you're trying to defend yourself? And before you know it, it's been 3 hours that you've been texting back and forth.
It's not that. It's the fact you're standing up for yourself. It's not that you keep going. But you get to a point where you can cut them off. Like, you know what? You aren't worth shit. Click. I mean, that's what we used to do back in the day when you can actually slam phones. You remember? What? Fuck you. Click. Slam the phone. Now, it's damn, it's so silent. I can't hit it when you press the button. I mean, that shit sucks on phones nowadays. That's what they need to invent, is a phone slam sound.
Oh, I like that. What would that be? What would that be?
I wish I had a phone. That's right.
Click.
Oh man, but I mean, I think it's a topic worth discussing a little bit later and exploring. I think we'd be able to get a lot of things out of it. Maybe have somebody on who's been cyberbullied.
Right. I think that'd be a great idea, because I can go on and on about this, and I'd like to learn more. And again, you guys, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah,
what do you
let
think?
us know what you think. And if you've been cyberbullied, let us know on our social networks.
And what can we do to help you?
Babe, have you been bullied?
Not in cyberspace.
I haven't. They failed every time. Talk about failing every time. Oh, man.
Let's talk about the movie.
Yeah.
Movie review.
These people. This is, see, I'd be Nat Turner. That's it. Against all the bullies. So we went and saw A Birth of a Nation, which is the controversial film by about Nat Turner by Nate Parker. And, I thought it was a really good film. Like, the one thing I liked about it was that it didn't romanticize slavery. It focused on a point. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh my God, they got beaten so bad. Like, we know that part of history. At least we should. There's a section of America that doesn't know because they choose to ignore it, and they don't understand the consequences as well as the ripple effect that it has throughout history. But it's like the story of Nat Turner and the rebellion. We're talking about in 1831. So when they say break a slave, when they break them, like, I don't know if people know what breaking a slave actually meant back then, but it was to completely not just break your will, but sometimes to break your body in order to do it. A lot of slaves came over here barely able to walk because they had to travel in such close quarters where, I mean, they were, feces on themselves, they were beaten, they were tied in shackles so they couldn't move for, long distances and everything else. So we're talking a brutality in history that had occurred. A lot of them, in order to smell good because of all of the, the odors and disease that was going on the ship, they would stick opium up their asses. And I'm not kidding. They stick opium up them. They would and the one thing that I liked about this, I'm going to let you speak in a second, but the one thing I really liked about this movie is when they showed, you remember I was saying, oh my God, I can't believe they showed it because they've never shown this in another movie about slavery, is how they would force feed people. And this is absolutely 100% true, is they would knock their teeth out and shove the food down in with a funnel because a lot of slaves wanted to die, but they didn't want to kill themselves, so they would just starve themselves. But, when you're considered property, they would force you and they would break your teeth in that same method. So I was really glad he showed that part of it, because I've never seen that before in another movie. Mm-hmm. But, go ahead and talk, and we can talk about the rebellion in a minute.
It was, now did not learn about the story growing up in school. I did not learn it. So it was definitely a learning process to get familiar with it, to learn about the story before I saw the movie too, just so then this way I know about what happened. And as a cinematic view of it, I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was really, they didn't romanticize, because there's some parts I know I could hear critics, and I reference what other critics were talking about there's some parts that they said was romanticized, or some parts that were glorified or even exaggerated. Okay, whatever. But it was a story that needed to be told.
Yeah, I mean, historically, they took a couple of liberties Hollywood-wise on, a few of the parts and changed some things. But, I mean, it's one of those movies that I think was really important. And I think, people tried to really shut it down due to the director's past. But I really feel that it was so important because Nat Turner is the one guy. Like, normally in the slave movies, usually there's a white guy that's saving them. Mm-hmm. Usually in the slave movie, there's a white guy, like I think the Free State of Jones is Matthew McConaughey. He saves the day. There's been a bunch of movies like that. Whereas this one, like, he used the Bible for his freedom. Like, they taught him young, and it's one of the reasons why they stopped teaching slaves.
Yeah, it was after that.
Like, they knew the words were power, so they never taught slaves how to read and write, so there were only a few of them that were able to get out of that and be able to read and write. So, I mean, he used that power, especially with God, to start a rebellion.
Well, and he used the Bible because that was really the major book that he was, I guess, taught how to read, right? So he learned the language of how to speak to the slave owners, to the people that, to the reverends and people with power. They spoke that, they had that that language of, they went back and forth. There's a scene where he goes back and forth with one of the reverends about some of the proverbs, and you just saw that this guy knew what he was talking about. He was educated, and they were afraid of him.
But he wasn't just educated. Is the back and forth that he did was he was speaking about, and I love that he addressed it, he was speaking about the God of wrath versus the God of not even love but control. Because a lot of the slaves, and I like the way they showed that, is slaves were in the South. That's why a lot of blacks or Southern Baptists, they were forced back then to be, on Sundays, that's like the day they would have off, where they'd have to be forced to worship God. And so I really like the fact that they showed that they used slavery in the Bible as why the white men were doing what they were doing. It's like, well, God told us to do it, so, you're supposed to be this. Mm-hmm. But Nat was using the other words against it. So
please listen carefully.
I say it's worth watching.
4 out of 5, definitely. All right. Once again, make sure you listen to the Zod and Drea podcast by subscribing to one of the following podcast methods: iTunes, Google Play, or YouTube. Visit our website at www.zodanddrea.com to go directly to the links, or if you choose, you can listen to each podcast episode directly on the website under their individual posts.
Want to get involved and have your voice heard on the next podcast? Then be sure to tune in to the question of the week on our website, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram page. And dial in and leave a message on our voicemail at 323-963-4221.
If you're an advertiser who would like to have your 30-second or 1-minute placement on our podcast or YouTube episode, please contact us at info@zodanddrea.com and we'll send you a price list. Space is limited for each episode.
The next podcast might even have you as a featured guest.
Tune in, check us out, and get involved.
And we're back.
Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. We now are going to have our nice little major portion here, and let me introduce it.
I'll let you.
Okay, allow me to. So, considering all of the things going on in the political landscape, and once again, shout out to my man Billy Bush. I just got to give him a shout out every time. My man, that's my man. Shout out to Billy. But Billy Bush and Trump seem to have had a discussion on a bus about 10 years ago, and for the Trump supporters, they had no problem calling it boys will be boys, even though these are grown-ass men with hair on their pubes. And we wanted to know, is there a time or a place when boys will be boys behavior is acceptable? I mean, is there? And here to help us out is Phoenix's own Kristen Burkhart. What's up, Kristen?
Yay!
All right. Kristen is here to help us discuss with this topic. And, we're just going to sit there and just have a good old time talking about some of this shit.
Well, welcome to have you.
Thank you. All right, good.
Awkward silence.
To be here.
I know. You're gonna pregnant. There can be no pregnant pauses. You know,
like,
if I look at you, it's like, boom.
I was like, what's going on?
Okay, good. So, obviously, you've seen the videotape.
I have.
With your boy Billy Bush and Donald Trump, having a discussion about, hey, let me just grab her by the pussy and, I don't even wait. Give me the tic tac.
Give me the tic tacs. I was about to say that.
Give me tic tacs. And see, my whole thing about that, real quick, is people on the Trump side are saying, "Oh, that's not sexual assault. That's boys will be boys." They're just talking. But I'm like, did you not hear him say, "I don't even wait. I just grab her by the puss"? Like, when people don't wait and just kind of grab your body parts whenever they fit, that to me sounds like sexual assault. I'm just saying. I know people want to vote for the guy, and that's all good and well and done. But that in itself is sexual assault. I couldn't imagine that if it was Barack Obama on there with Billy Bush, that they would just be saying, "Oh, boys will be boys."
It is sexual assault. It's like, when I think about it, I don't think that there's any difference between that and the subtleties that we experience in our country and underlying racism than we do sexism. It's entitlement. It's a sense of entitlement that, it has no place here anymore,
So when do you think there is a time and a place, though? You said it's not acceptable, but is there a time and a place for boys will be boys? Maybe not that particular, but boys will be boys. Is there a time and a place when that is acceptable behavior?
I think it just depends on what you expect of yourself as a human being. I don't speak of people in my life or people out of my life with ill intent or something other than honorable integrity because of how I want to behave as a person. So I think that people can say whatever they want to, but own up to the repercussions of what your behavior is.
Right. And I get that there's what they call it, locker room talk, right? I mean, I grew up around boys and uncles and stuff that,
right.
You talk about, they had like posters of girls in bikinis, like in their man caves and stuff, maybe talking about, that girl's got a great butt, or look at that rack on that girl. But there was never, and I can honestly say this from all the times that I've been around my friends, all of my male friends, there hasn't been this conversation of, oh, I do this, I attack her, I grab this, I grab that. It's more like, well, I wish I could, maybe, do this or do that. But there's never this kind of full fruition of this is what I do. It's a different type of language. It's a different type of conversation versus a fantasy versus what I really do.
Right. And I think that no matter how you are approaching it, own your behavior. I think that what has been not that the whole comment wasn't souring, from hearing it, but what makes it even more so is the non-ownership of what the intent was behind it. And I think that applies to anything.
Right.
My thing is, I've been in the locker room talk with the guys.
No, really?
We've had a whole bunch of times. Well, you're trying to act like the expert quiet. You have salon talk. All right, so I've been in the barber shop and I've been in the locker room.
So salon talk. I love this. Like these generalities here.
Oh, Janet, I'm telling you, his dick was so... No. So
she doesn't go to that kind of salon.
No, that's a different one.
She used to. So, the way that we talk is, it's basically based on fantasy. It's just, oh man, her rack was this or whatever. We talk about, not even fantasy, it could be reality. Like, this is what I did. Oh my God, I smashed. I did this and that. It's like, oh my God, I would like to smash her. A woman come in, she looks dope. It's like, and she leaves. It's like, oh, we're going to talk about her a little bit. Like, that's boys will be boys, because that is just what we do. We are visual creatures. We talk about what is visual, what we would like to do. It's not so much, oh man, I wonder what what her favorite color is. It's, oh man, that's not locker room talk. Oh God, and the education that no one cares, bro. We want to know what, where her nipples pierce, where, we want to know this good stuff. And for it to go and bridge, I guess, a gap between misogyny, like true misogyny, to where you're acting upon it. That is dangerous behavior. That's where it gets dangerous, and it's not boys will be boys anymore. That's when, men turn to rapists. That's when, sexual assault is cool. That's when you're teaching your boy growing up that it's all right to touch, or, you're just a kid, get your little feels on. That's dangerous behavior, and you're going to wind up, visiting your kid and Sing later on and wondering why he's in there, It's like, oh, how come you didn't treat me like Brock Turner? There's going to be something there's going to be a repercussion over there. But, so the time and place would be, I'd say, barbershop talk that is real. Locker room talk that is real. Boys will be boys. But under the context that you do respect the women that you're talking about. Because I'm going to tell you, even if they do talk, oh, man, I'd like to smash and blah, blah, blah. Man, as soon as their wife comes in, boy,
that's a different story. That's a different story.
their back is straight, speaking proper English. It's like, no, ma'am.
Let me think of dinner.
Well, since you're the expert here, I've got a question then. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in a conversation, locker room talk, where it shifted? Again, similar to what we now hear this recording. Instead of the fantasy, all of a sudden you hear somebody say, yeah, I grabbed her by this and I grabbed her by that, and that's what I do.
Nobody's ever said that around me. Mm-hmm. Nobody's ever said that I forced myself on something, right? If it was like I grabbed, it was a mutual grab, like, oh man, we were all over ourselves on the kitchen table, this and that. And that's about it. It was never an admission of rape, It would get that awkward silence.
Like, what did he just say?
Like, what did you just admit
did you guys
to a
hear
crime? It's like, did you admit to a crime? You, sir, are going to jail. I'm like, no. Like, nobody's done that. I mean, it's crazy. But I also think that a boys will be boys can also be brought up as in a place on stage. Mm-hmm. So like an Andrew Dice Clay. Okay, he's a misogynist and he's a scumbag, but whether or not he's influencing someone, usually it's, okay, to view this, you're an adult, you got to be an adult, blah, 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 and that's, comedy. But to be able to, and when I'm saying boys will be boys, just in how men act in barbershop talk on a stage. So it's almost bringing it out into public as opposed to putting it out there.
I think there's something to be said, too, for, granted, this man doesn't know 10 years ago that he's running for president.
Right.
But he's still a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, and we've had conversations like this about professional athletes,
mm-hmm.
people in entertainment. Whether you want to or not, part of the role that you now play is being influential in people's lives, young people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a huge responsibility in that. So even if we're talking, barbershop talk or locker room talk, there's a responsibility as a celebrity in this country.
He was in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
With Macaulay fucking Culkin.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Right.
Hey, Macaulay. Grab her by the pussy.
Oh, no, Macaulay. Don't listen to him, Macaulay.
That's going to be Brent's next meme.
Hey, Macaulay. We saw what happened to Macaulay.
With the hands across the face.
No.
He grabbed her. It's like, there can be a time. Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
who also makes some money. So, yeah, you got people that make money off of it.
It's like boys will be, and plus, he's got the backup of, Robin also. Backing him up. So I guess that's supposed to be the okay factor, which, in a sense, yeah, but no. We don't want to censor everybody for what they say. Otherwise, it'd be a boring world. But, there are influences, like you say, to children and younger people who are coming up where it's like, okay, we've had how many centuries of women being thrown under the bus? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I think we can grow up now. And what's funny is people call that, oh, God, everybody wants to be PC.
Politically correct.
Oh, God,
that's why he says what he says. He doesn't care about being politically correct.
That's why I like him. He says what's on his mind. He acts like it's 1943. Please, what a great time. America was great. And it's like, okay, we've had our time. That's good. But, politically correct to me is just being kind. It's just being polite. Right. It's having manners. If you see a group that says, well, it'd be nice if you stopped calling me that. It's like, oh, God, you want to be political. I should be able to call you that. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Just don't be an asshole.
Like, yeah.
that?
It's like, how about that? But, I understand people have the right to be assholes, but,
But do you think society makes it so easy for them to get away with this? Like, there's no consequence, to act this way. Trump has been acting this way for decades.
Yeah.
Still making money, still getting wives, still getting the attention, and has not had to deal with any consequence. So then you can just think how that trickles down to so many other men.
Well, because, like Kristen said, he was in the entertainment field. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why. It's weird that there's a difference between the entertainment field, and that's what he doesn't understand, is there's a difference between the entertainment field, when you are on the world stage in that sense, versus the world stage as a president representing 322 million people.
Yeah.
As in that stage, as a misogynist, asshole, jack off, whatever, you represent only yourself. As a president, you represent a nation. So, grabbing her by the pussy without her permission, it doesn't work either way. But it sure as hell doesn't work with boys will be boys as a president.
Right. So that's my thing. It's like, what is it then that society has to do to show that we're not going to put up with this anymore? Yeah, we can have these conversations, but what is it that can be put in place so that little boys now realize that, look, just because this man's got lots of money doesn't mean what he's doing is right.
And not only little boys, but little girls. Because there are a lot of people. The craziest thing that I've seen are the women who are supporting this. Like,
Yeah.
does anyone have to say anything about that? That's what blew my mind. Like, look,
I had sent a text to both of you.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
had sent
speak
a
on
text
it.
to both of you, and it was the woman at one of the rallies, and she's probably late 50s or
Yeah.
whatever it was, and had on the T-shirt that said, "Trump, you can grab my pussy." And I think the comment that I said to you two was, I really hope that her mother is alive and has seen that, because
yes.
she sure as shit doesn't care what her kids think if she has kids. Like what kind of role model is that?
Well,
No,
unfortunately, her mom probably gave her the
Yeah,
shirt. Deplorables everywhere.
right.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why you think it's okay to just agree with that, to agree with that type of behavior and support it.
Like, what could he possibly be standing for that you feel so strongly compelled to support him on that you are abandoning your human rights?
Exactly.
That's how I feel about it.
Like, you are now an object.
Right.
And it's funny you say that, because Psychology Today actually states, because they're against the boys will be boys behavior, but it states that it limits the full expression of children. And that's what's saying boys will be, that behavior limits the full expression of children. And it doesn't give them the open mind of. It's like, we came up that way, and, barbershop talk is barbershop talk, but, it's true that kids will wind up limiting their behavior. Imagine that. Some of the women who still believe that Trump was, just boys will be boys, they say that all the time, and they are spreading that information to other people who are listening and other little girls who are listening. They are limiting. It's like, oh, well, girls will think, oh, I guess that's okay. And boys will be like, oh, I guess that's
And
okay.
they're raising daughters. That's what terrifies me.
Like, that psychologically will mess somebody up if they keep on persisting that just because you want to get someone into the White House.
Or because you just think this person is so much better than you.
boy.
He must be the best thing ever because
Oh my God,
He's
don't
the
even get into
emperor has no clothes.
Right.
Kind of thing.
new clothes.
New clothes.
that are made in China.
The emperor's naked. That's what's
He's
happening.
naked, grabbing her by the pussy. The emperor grabbed her by the pussy. You asshole emperor.
That's a great children's book.
The revised edition.
By Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, no, this is crazy.
No.
But yo, unfortunately, the time has passed and we have got to go. But we'd like to thank Kristen Burkhart for
Thank
coming
you.
through.
Thank you.
And I really hope that you had a good time over
Yeah,
here at the
thanks
Zod
for
and
having
Drea
me. I
show.
appreciate it.
No doubt you're going to have to come back and make sure, you spread your knowledge to us a little bit more later.
Let's see what happens after the elections. Wow,
Oh,
that
man.
was great.
That was a good show. And we are really glad to have had Kristen over here chilling out with us, discussing what Boys Will Be Boys was all about. And, make sure you leave your comments and, everywhere. Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Zod and Drea.
Yeah, your thoughts about the other topics, the movie review,
The movie review.
for Birth of a Nation,
Yep.
and also cyberbullying and defending friends and helping your friends out. So,
Exactly, so-
again, let us know. And if you want to be a guest, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. If you know some people who would probably, have a good idea as to what they'd like to hear spoken over here at Zod and Drea, tell them to send in a topic. And they may even be over here. You know, we can also phone people in, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Even if you have an opposing view, please.
Yeah, exactly. If you
That
have an
would be
opposing
great.
view, that would be really great, man. This election is just going to get crazier, so you're going to have to get a lot of people in here that have different opinions than us. So let's see what happens.
Let's see then.
All right.
Talk to you
until
next
then,
time.
peace.
Bye.